If you want to see more videos and interviews like this from influential people in tech, finance, and sports, subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the bell to be alerted. And go a step further and join the YouTube and membership area for early releases of videos like this. I'm out of here. It's your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another Kicking It session. I got a frog in my throat, but I do have Douglas Horn on with me again. He is a returning guest. He's been on maybe 4 or 5 times now, guys. Always a pleasure having him on. He's from Telos. He doesn't like to be called the founder of Telos, but I'm going to call him that. Douglas Horn, welcome back, man. Thanks for coming on. And,
hey, CB.
It's been a pleasure kicking it with you in the past, and I know it's going to be great again today. What's going on with you?
Oh, man, I always have the most fun on this show. I forget it's not just me and my bud talking, you know?
Right,
so,
right.
And then I say stuff I shouldn't, so...
So today we've got Doug on because he's got a lot of exciting news when it comes to Telos. As you guys probably see on my channel, on the My 2 Satoshi videos, I have a little Telos banner rotating in the bottom. I'm a huge fan of the community. As you know, Doug, I'm over at EOS Detroit. So, yeah.
Just added a bunch of votes for you guys yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, we know you guys well, and we're fans of Telos as well. So, for those who don't know, let's just back it up as if this was the first time they were watching this Telos thing and interview and know who Doug Horn is. Tell us what Telos is all about. Is it a fork off of EOS, or is it a sister chain, side chain? Just let us know exactly what Telos is.
You know, we've had our mainnet running without a pause for over 2 years. Yeah. So it's just Telos. Telos is Telos, man. Mm-hmm. It's I think that this idea of thinking about these relationships between chains is I don't think it's helpful for anyone. There was once a vision that there was going to be this free flowing cross chain bridges as that B1 was going to create, but they never built it. So that didn't happen. To be honest, we're more linked into Bitcoin, and Ethereum, or at least as much as we are to EOS. So I just don't think there's any relationship there. We have very different visions. EOS set out to be the Ethereum killer, and Telos is like, we just want to make everyone better. We just want to make this whole community better. We're not killing anybody. So we have a very different point of view. They're polar opposites. But what Telos is on its own is a super fast blockchain. It gets compared to EOS because they are the top 2, blockchains in terms of speed and usage and whatnot in the world, and have been for over a year now. So I mean, it moves a little bit, but pretty consistently. Telos is also staking rewards started listing this, and if you look at the amount of the percentage staked Telos circulating coins, Telos is actually in the top 3 of most decentralized through that measurement. There's a lot of ways to measure decentralization. So those are exciting things about Telos. Telos has the leading governance platform in the world, and if you look at our new tech roadmap for 2021, which came out a little while ago, you'll see that we're going to extend that to other chains as well through these bridges. So there's a lot to talk about. Telos has been sort of building through. We were born in crypto winter, and we built through it, and we built a lot. I don't think people even know how much, because people don't know about Telos because it's so hard to buy Telos still, and that's what we're fixing with our Tulip plan. Tulip is going to get us on Uniswap and change our liquidity forever and pop us into the top 30 coins.
For sure, and make a lot of people a lot of money, even though it's not necessarily what we're trying to promote here, but just seeing how undervalued this coin is positioned in the marketplace, it makes no sense.
A lot has changed in the way people think lately, and I mean this week. about assets that have depressed values.
Dogecoin.
Yeah, Doge. Like assets that have just been overlooked or have, and suddenly people go, oh, wait, that's why does Cardano, and this is not picking on Cardano, But it's a good example. Why does
Very
Cardano?
good example.
Yep, it's just as a comparison. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them. I'm saying
Right.
it is by all means a comparable chain, though, right? Like Telos has 100 dApps, right? Telos has bridges to other chains. Telos has great smart contracts. Telos has this fantastic governance engine, and in the roadmap we're offering a bunch of new things too. But it's just provably much further along than Cardano. So why is it 1/2000th the price of Cardano?
Well, that's what smart money does, right? They go out and find, in the sense, or in the case with equities, right? They'll go find those companies, those stocks that have a PE ratio that's, under, their competitors in that space, and they do all the due diligence. I think it's a little easier with crypto to do that because you go solely off of what the network is doing.
Yeah.
And I always love using, Doug, the blocktivity.info site for that. If you ask Crypto Blood what's his top 5 picks, 9 times out of 10, most of those are going to be in the top 10 of Blocktivity's website. Because I'm looking at where's the value, and then where's the utility, I should say. Yep. And then that will drive value, whether it's today or in 10 years or whatnot. It's still, that's what's going to happen.
I know our time horizons are so short, and that's fine. But even on short time horizons, let me tell you, what we're doing, because people can make their own judgments. But you're absolutely right. First of all, you want to quantify stuff. You don't want to just go off hype. You want to say, okay, well, let's look. Do they have dApps? Do they have users? We just crossed 600,000 accounts, by the way, nice. Last week. I mean, it's growing quickly. It's that's pretty good, because those are a lot of those are are individual people. We're bringing people on really quickly right now because we have this liquidity plan, and because we have our tech roadmap. So to your point about these distressed assets or low value or value assets or whatever, if there's 5 major chip makers, right, and 4 of them are at this one valuation, and then the 5th one is let's say 1/100th of the valuation of the others, you really got to look. How did that happen? Why is that? Mm-hmm. And is there a really good reason for that? Who knows? There's lots of good reasons, but there's also sometimes it happens where there's no good reason, right? Sometimes it happens just because, look, GameStop's a great example. People piled into that. People, like the company itself, when we really look at it, seemed, I'm not an analyst, but it seemed like it was making money. I go to GameStop. I buy a lot of stuff on GameStop. It's funny. It's a business that people will actually go in. You could buy all the same stuff, but there's a lot of excitement around it. So GameStop's a great example. Why is its price so low? And then you discover, it's low because there's people actively trying to destroy it, right?
Right.
And there's some hijinks going on, apparently. Okay, so if it were a chip maker, you look at it and you go, okay, either that's something horrible and I'm going to stay far away, or that's super undervalued and eventually that has to come back, right? And I think when people look at Telos, it's the same thing. Why is it certainly comparable? We got this chart that you could put up, but or maybe you already did, but why is it certainly comparable to Tron? Of course it's in performance and whatnot, right? Tron, Cardano, Tezos, even Ethereum, and of course we didn't put EOS on there because we're heightened that association, but right now because people already strongly associate it. But certainly, if you look at it, any kind of metrics that you want, we should be on that list. We're that 4th chip maker, except instead of being 1/100th of the price of the others, we're 1/1000th.
Yeah.
Right. So okay. So why is that? Right. Well, is that because we don't develop anything?
No.
I'm asking you. Why?
No. I tell you, it's because in all industries you have these gatekeepers, right? And I think there are gatekeepers that have been established in the crypto blockchain industry or space, I should say.
They didn't like Telos.
No, they don't like EOS. They're damn sure not gonna like Telos.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's funny because the guys certainly early on, I don't know if this is the case anymore, but early on, and these things tend to linger. People who loved EOS, thought that Telos was somehow taking value instead of just, going a different direction and building something of value. They thought they were taking value from EOS, and so they kind of hated on Telos. And the easiest way to get in and out of Telos is through EOS, at least until we do our liquidity plan now. And so they could throttle it. So yeah, that was sort of the hedge fund, right?
Yeah, it's an inherent attribute of humans. If something seems like it's going to threaten your progress, right, you're not going to necessarily lend it a hand.
No.
And
no,
I think
you're going to actively suppress it if you think it's a threat.
Actively or not even actively, just not even mention it, just through omission of even mentioning anything about you, right? So I think that's what happened with Telos, with many other great blockchains, especially in like the blockchain media space. They don't mention you. You don't get much exposure.
Yeah. But we changed that recently,
right.
Like in terms of exposure, if you look at Cointelegraph and CoinDesk, and all the, I mean, there's a lot, there's like a big story every week about Telos.
Good.
It's kind of funny. For a while we were joking that we can't afford to have any more good news because the price goes down each time.
Mm-hmm.
But we turned that around. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the same, some kind of suppression or omission or whatever has been happening. So how do we fix that? Well, we think actually the biggest thing has been liquidity, because we think having people who are excited, but nobody wants to make a big bet, because even if you think, oh, I'm going to put $100,000 in Telos, that's, that seems like a good bet.
It's illiquid.
Yeah. Suddenly the price just on that, the price, first of all, you can't buy that much. It's a very limited supply, very tight holders. I mean, we've had diamond hands forever, or else the price would have, gone way down. Yeah. So it's hard. There's just not that much on, because no one wants to sell it. So it created this, no people who have it don't want to sell it at 10 cents, even. And so there's not much on the market, and people who buy it who say, oh my God, this is actually as good. This is a great bet. But I'm certainly not going to put in a buy order that I can't get out of anytime soon. And secondly, I don't want it to, I think this stock is going to do a 10x but I don't want to do 5x of that myself.
Exactly.
Exactly. So we had to solve that. It was a problem. But I think we found a good solution, and we've already started it, and it's already been working. We came up with this Telos Uniswap liquidity implementation plan, Tulip. Very tongue-in-cheek that it's our Tulip plan.
I want to talk about that, but before, I know when I was supposed to first have you on, Doug, it was regarding your bond, Tbonds.
No, that's part of Tulip. So Tulip has so the first thing we did was we announced it. Instantly on announcing it, we stopped the downward slide, and because people were excited about it. And the first stage is basically done, and that is the Tbonds. And Tbonds are a new product. They're not that new, like it's not earth shattering like in all of its pieces, but no one quite put them together like this before. What it is a way to lock up any token, in this case Telos, and sell that token in an NFT that's just like, in many ways, a bond, right? In that it has a maturity date where you can unlock the tokens. It has a discount, right? So you're getting a yield based on how long, and it has so that gives you basically a yield, right? The difference between it and a bond that makes it not a bond and no reason to think it's a security is that all the Telos that are there are held in the NFT forever. So there's no settlement. It's not like a promise to pay like a bond is. Mm-hmm. You have those tokens. We've sold, whoever sells one sells those tokens. But the thing is, there's now a secondary market for that. So those if we sell 7 million Telos those 7 million Telos aren't going to suddenly hit the exchanges for people to sell, right? And so it gives us time to build the extra value that we want to, and before those things hit the market. And that's important, because that's a real sticking point for any kind of company, right? The old ICOs used to just have a lockup period, and you just like weren't going to be able to get your tokens for a while, and that sucked, because if you changed your feelings about it, or they didn't follow through or whatever, then there's no way, there was no, you were just stuck. It was a completely illiquid investment. But with a T-bond, there's a secondary market for those T-bonds, right? So you could sell it. Also, because the T-bond yield is initially set up to be against the Rex yield, which is about 17% right now. If the Rex yield ends up going down to 10%, which is still a good yield, the T-bonds all become worth more, just like a bond, because the
right.
the yield rate is different. So there's a lot of things, and as a DeFi tool, because we see Telos as a great platform for DeFi, because free transactions, half second, impossible to front run. Those are some good, and we're bridging to Ethereum, both through our EVM that'll just run straight Ethereum contracts, and also through the Telos native. So we think this is great, and you could just imagine you got a T-bond, and you don't want to sell it. You could just pop it into onto a collateralization platform and get a loan, and then do something, and basically it brings in a lot of pieces of the traditional type economy into DeFi now. So it's kind of trailblazing. We have a lot of people. It's not just for Telos. It's not just like a part of our plan. We're also doing it to pilot it for a lot of other dApps, because now any dApp on Telos can use this as their own liquidity improvement plan, right?
Yeah,
so
this is great. I remember when you were on last time, we talked about this idea that you came up with, the T-bond situation. I said, wow, I had my reservations though. Remember, I was like, is this going to be considered security, and so on and so forth. But
good questions.
It looks like it's panned out, and it looks great. So how are things going with the T-bond?
It's great. So it is great. So we had a few different denominations and a few different maturity periods. We had 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and 24-month maturity periods. And then we sold 1, 5, 10, 50, and 100,000 Telos bonds, right? And we sold them for PBTC. So another great thing that happened is, and this has been great for Telos. It's just on its own. Forget that it's part of a bigger plan, although it's great. The bigger plan is even better, but because it ends with us having a big locked pool of liquidity on Uniswap. And free transfer back and forth. So that's great. I mean, this thing is huge. I would say, forget even the roadmap. All this stuff is massive. It's going to earn Telos's huge shoot up. But of those, what do you think sold out first? Which period? 3 months, 2 years, 6 months? What?
I was actually going to say 3 months, but I know that's not the answer. It's probably the longer outdated ones, right? The longer
2 years.
Ones. Yeah.
2 years
crazy.
sold out like that.
That is
2 years
crazy.
Sold out. This is crypto, man.
That's like 100 years in
I know. And now people are like we've got these memes up. You got like Dave Chappelle with going, you got any of those 24-month T-bonds? I love it.
Oh man,
I love it.
You gotta make an Ashley Larry one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I couldn't remember the character's name. So yeah, I mean, who would have thought that people would have so
That's
much?
Interesting,
faith?
Doug. It's very
That's
interesting.
locked up. I mean, it's locked up,
Yeah.
but like the power of it. I bought some. To me, I'm not surprised. I kind of called it. Everyone's like, well, these 3 month ones are going to sell out. I'm like, I think the 24-month ones are, because I actually think as good as rate as Rex is right now, they can't stay 17% forever.
Right.
No,
they can't.
So you're getting, but that's what you're getting. Like it was it was 32% off. And so those things went fast. But there were also, you're right, there were also a lot of people who wanted the 3 months. I think the 3 months are all gone now, but the
Yeah,
two,
they are.
you know, it kind of went in from the outsides, right? People
Gotcha.
either wanted that like
The
really
low
great
end of the
price,
curve and the high
yeah,
end.
or they
Mhm.
just wanted to get in, and so and by the way, once you liquefy, which is just the push of a button there, you you can you get to keep the artwork. So uh, and actually
Nice.
our 24 month Tbond artwork, which is maybe they're all great, but that was done by your boy there in
Lars.
yeah, by Lars.
Shout out to EOS Detroit. Yep.
Yeah, EOS Detroit, man, represent.
Yep.
Yeah, so he
He
did a
cranked them
great
out
job.
fast, man. Cranked them out
It
fast
looks
too.
good, but they all look good.
Yeah.
There are people who say like, well, I was gonna buy, the 5,000, but I just got 5 1,000s because I love the,
Right.
people are like picking and choosing. It's fun.
You're right.
It makes it fun. I think if we're
Absolutely.
not doing stuff that's also fun, then I think we're doing it wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Definitely. So you adding that
Tbonds have
element of
been a huge
NFTs.
success, man.
Good.
You've looked at it. I mean,
So-
you had good questions when we first brought it up. You had like these really good questions because we brought
Right.
this up. Like, it's not fast. Like, I'm not fast, and that's I'm sorry. It would take my time to try and
fine.
get things right. So we talked about it. There was an
Yeah.
RFC. We ended up doing we got a lot of feedback. We did a vote. We did made it part of the Tulip plan. We had to actually build all this stuff. It's funny, going on Uniswap is comparatively easy because we had to do all this. We audited the contract,
Right.
you try to do stuff right.
Marble, right? The marble kind.
Yeah, written by Craig Brascom, who used to work for me at Good Block and now is working for Mythical Games.
Nice.
Awesome dude. But this was his own thing. This is not a Good Block or anybody else. It's just his own. But we company. And we audited it, and it's good. We're doing everything right. It's trustworthy, and these things, we tested the heck out of it. I'm just really excited. But that's just phase one. There's still a few left.
Oh man, let's talk about this road. I want to talk about this roadmap, man. I mean, it's
okay. Well, can I just give you the last part of the
Sure.
of the last and most exciting part of the of the I mean, we're lingering over the amuse-bouche of Tbonds when we could be, skipping to the first course of Uniswap, man.
Oh man, the ERC20 token.
Yeah. So that we never did a sale. We've got a bridge. It's going to be a two-way bridge put out by P Networks, P Tokens. They do a great job. It's going to be, but it's not going to be PTLOS. It's going to be TLOS. Because we're calling it our official implementation, and we have a lot of faith in them. So it's going to be TLOS on Ethereum, and we're going to do a big sale with probably a phased sale through Bounce, right? Who's do a great job, and this is short. I think this is 2 weeks. It might be 3 weeks, but and then we take the bulk of that and create and make it a locked pool, turn into locked liquidity pools, mostly on Uniswap, but also a fair amount on the Telos side of the bridge, which is called tswaps.com, which is our native Uniswap, right? And then we're also finally going to have the money to get onto exchanges and have nice consistent liquidity pools there, and marketing, right? So
that's key. Yep.
This is why and people are super excited about it, and I love having a plan. I love having this liquidity plan where we've done, the first 2 parts have already worked, right? From announcing it and the confidence that people had in just the plan, we did a 3x, and then the Tbonds come up, and they were sold at a fixed rate, so we didn't expect them to themselves do lead to another big gap up, on their own. They are providing the funds for the marketing and the other costs to do this Uniswap plan, right? And then that's it. You got it right there. It's we do these Tbonds, we get on Uniswap, and T-swaps and and KuCoin, Binance, Kraken, those level of exchanges. I don't know if it'll be those, but big exchanges. So, because you gotta, and people go, well, why those? Because because people are, there's problems with those exchanges. We want to get on the best ones, but getting on a couple of big exchanges means that it's easier for people to arbitrage those liquidity pools. It's easier for people to fiat on ramps and off ramps. It gets you on Changely. It just really expands your position in the community, which is one of those things we need. So we're doing that, and then we're going to have a real marketing fund. But I personally think it's going to pop us up into the top 30.
Yeah, I think so. And where are you ranked right now? You're like,
it's a micro cap. I mean, I don't know.
Let's take a look.
Do numbers go that high? It's like 500.
Let's take a look. I can't remember, man.
It ain't good. It was like.
It's actually no. That is very good, Doug. That's very good for people who are going to seize on the opportunity, right?
Okay. So, well, the market cap when we announced this was like, for Telos was like $4 million. Bucks total market cap for something. Crazy. It's insane. Now the market cap is up in the 10, 12 million, whatever like that. But the comparables are in the 1.2 billion range. So let's say we're at 12 million, and then some of our comparables are 1.2 billion. Some of our comparables are much higher than that, right? But I don't know where it will go. I just think that at some point that has to sort of equalize. And maybe they're worth 100 times. That would be a 10x. Maybe they're worth 10 times what we are. From starting from here, it's a great story. And we're fixing the liquidity part. Why don't you look at like the 30-day or 90-day on there? And that really, to me, tells the story of how we've grown both in volume.
Look at that, guys. I mean, we were floating around a penny and a half for a while. But now look at look at the volume too, because that's I'm sure this. Not everybody knows this. You got to look at when something's going up in price and going up in value, in volume. It's built a base and it's basically going the opposite direction. It's starting to head back higher. From the bottom left to the upper right corner of that chart.
And, growing price and growing volume at the same time. Right. That's what a lot of. I'm not a TA guy, but I know I hear they like that.
Yeah, you want to see the volume equals participation.
Yeah.
Right? More participants in the market. Yeah. So that's more credibility on that price swing up. So,
and it helps our community too, by the way. The biggest thing about Telos really is it's completely run by its community. There's no Telos company. There's over 50 companies that are like yours and like EOS Detroit and Good Block that are block producers, right? But there's no company behind it. So that's fantastic. And what we want to do, and there's also really no whales. So part of the way we want to do this is to try and keep those very good qualities, expand ourselves, expand it, make it more easy for people who are in Ethereum or other token economies to come in and join Telos and become part of this community. It's a super great one. It's a super positive one. People work. It's fun when you release new groundbreaking features every 3-6 months, and people go, "Whoa, you can do this now?" That's our segue.
Great segue, actually. So the 2021 roadmap, man, I'm excited about it. Told me about DStore many months ago.
I know, but finally going to come out Q1.
Finally coming out. We can talk about that.
Yeah,
and we got Telos Decide as well as continuing the development there. But let's talk about DStore. I thought this was a game changer. Tell us a little bit about this.
DStore is decentralized storage. You could think of it as like Filecoin, right? Because like Filecoin, it's based on IPFS. It has some unique changes. It's definitely not a Filecoin clone, though. In fact, so when you look at Filecoin or Skynet from Sia or Tardigrade from Storage or any of those, it basically creates a marketplace where I, as an individual, can go out and contract with people to store my files, right? And so I do that using this special coin. Well, DStore also is going to have storage node operators all around the world storing, but I don't have to make an individual deal with each of those. As a buyer, or as somebody who's storing data, you make a deal. You make a deal with DStore. DStore is a decentralized, is a decentralized company. It's not as decentralized as it ultimately would be, because starting out, somebody's got to build it. But
Right.
when you put your files on DStore, instead of saying, oh, okay, I'm going to make a deal with you and all my files will be there, and I'm going to make a deal with you and all my files will be there, it shards your files and stores them all over the world in chunks, right? And also there's like about 19 copies around the world, right? So what that means is you're always close to a node, right? We have a really good way of Cloudflare type way, except as a global, globally, to make sure we put you on your connection point to something
Right.
close. But then once you're in, then it's its whole VPN essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to worry about if one, as a user, I don't have to worry about using some special token that's price changes and I have to buy at exchanges. Our customers are going to use credit cards to buy, because that for them, so I think that no matter how, so I think there's technical advantages with DStore over Filecoin, and we could talk about those all day. But let me just tell you about the business operations advantage. You can just get you get billed just like you get billed for Amazon Web Services, but 35 to 50% less money, right? So it doesn't matter how much money people might save on Filecoin. 99.9% of businesses in the world are not going to be using it within the next 3 years, certainly, because they're just not ready to go buy Filecoin and use it. Crypto companies might, but that's a very small segment of the economy compared
Right.
to $170 billion a year economy, industry for cloud storage, not cloud computing, just cloud storage.
Mm-hmm.
So, and by the way, once you get cloud storage, cloud computing becomes something that you can start looking at. I won't say much more than that, but so DStore is like cheap Amazon Web Services for storage, cheap S3 storage, huge market. Regular users all over the world can store their files there cheaply, not have any other big differences. But certainly decentralized companies, especially because there's really no, because they still like, doing business that way. They can also pay in Telos if they want. The storage node operators all over the world share a big chunk of that revenue, half that revenue, and they're incentivized. It's essentially like a mining operation for them, right? Except you're mining hard drive space and storage people files. You're incentivized to have faster bandwidth and higher storage and consistent storage. When people buy cloud storage, they're not actually buying the storage, because you could just get a hard drive and store stuff. They're buying access, the ability for people to quickly access it. And we have the patent pending. We've applied for a patent on our technology that makes that super fast. So it's fantastic for users. It's fantastic for dApps. It's not a Telos only thing. Any Ethereum, any chain can use, any dApp on any chain can use this. It's a step up and more decentralized than using Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud.
That's deep. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but anyway, it's built. Anyone can use it. Like right now, as we're moving into our beta, it'll we're sort of restricting. We have a long line of people who want to use it, and we can't fully service all of them because it's GoodBlock is still a small company. We need to get some outside funding to really blow this up, but I don't want to sell it as a. I'm just like Telos, like a lot of things. I don't like selling a promise. I like building something and then selling it. And so it's possible that DStore will have its own token offering. you know, because it actually gets it more decentralized. I'm not sure. We're also talking to venture firms who are very interested in, you know, the long-term value of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard to say what will happen, but we know it's coming out. We know that we have our first, you know, 5-10 users. We have it's exciting. There's going to be a Dropbox type interface. There's, you know, from a company, there's going to be a couple of video streaming services. I mean, everyone wants to use it. There's going to be Cubicles is going to use it, which is, if you don't know what that is, it's pretty awesome. It's a call center economy that's built on Telos for people working from home, you know, doing call center work as a gig economy, and it's perfect. It's tokenized, so they're going to use that for you know, for purposes, and so yeah, that's coming out. And I think a lot of people who, you know, you can't really mine anything profitably anymore. I guess it's kind of come back that you can mine Ethereum. There's a lot of people now, you know, in crypto who know how to mine, who know how to run a node of something, but there's a lot fewer opportunities to actually make any money doing that. Suddenly here's this like virgin territory of mining, storage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And where they can make some really great money. And, you know, just economically, users paying for the service with credit cards, right? Because it's not a crypto company to anyone on that side, right? So we're just a computer service provider. So taking that money from credit cards, putting, you know, half or more every week into converting it into Telos, and then distributing it to the storage node operators through their Telos accounts. And then they can directly take it back out through any of these liquidity pools, right? Through swaps. And that's one of the reasons we have to do this, right? So,
you know, that's going to add a bid under the market for Telos. Yet one more thing, Telos tokens, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Because you're actually week over week pulling in fiat. Yeah. And I think it's good for crypto in general, frankly. Anything that ongoing brings in, I mean, this should be a multi-billion-dollar business.
Yeah, right? I think so.
Yeah,
I think so, definitely.
Yeah.
So let's talk.
So we got that. So that's good. What else you want to talk about?
Any updates on Telos EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine?
Yeah.
I thought that was neat. We talked about that last time.
Yeah. We got a video. Did you see the video of it running? It's crazy. No. It's crazy. Yeah. So that is also, by the way, DStore and Telos EVM are both Q1 products.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So is the Decide Voter mobile app that's going to make using Telos Decide finally as easy as using, you know, any mobile app you have. Like but EVM, it's working, it's running on testnet, it's great. We put this video out the other day, and now it's, you know, it's already old by the time, you know, we're already doing stuff better. But, you know, you can watch this video and you see, you know, you sign in into MetaMask, and now you're using Telos EVM, and you're, you know, moving tokens around. You're trading tokens. You're doing all these things that you do on Ethereum, but there's really no gas fee, and or infinitesimally small. Like, I don't, you know, we have to actually figure that out, but because it's almost too cheap, but it's just short of being no fee, and it's fast. You know, there's no waiting, there's no hoping it gets pulled into this block because Telos is just so fast, and it works. And, you know, we've got so what we had to do, there was a great thing. One of the great things that B1 did, that Block 1 did, was put out a bounty to create this EOCO EVM contract, and that would basically run Solidity contracts within as like a virtual machine within Telos. So Telos, it basically EOCO EVM is basically a contract on Telos that does everything Ethereum does everything the whole network does, right? So that's the difference in power of these, of second generation versus third generation. But what we can do with it is bring over a lot of dApps that are dying. I mean, you can look at there's kind of two worlds in Ethereum right now. There's the DeFi stuff, and then there's everything else. And the DeFi stuff is like eating the network because it's so many transactions. It's making everything so expensive that all the other things that aren't making DeFi like gains or hoping for them are just crazy expensive to use. I mean, if you have an NFT, you know, that's worth $10, but it costs you $17 to sell it in fees,
Right.
you know,
Right.
you're not selling it, you know.
Right.
So these things, all of those things can come over to Telos CVM. It's not. I don't think of it as personally as competing. I think of it as it's going to like lighten the load on Ethereum so that more stuff can happen on Ethereum. You know, it's going to probably take the lower value transactions, a lot of them, off because they're basically dying. Those things are dying every time they, you know, there's things that just write hashes. Like back in the day, remember like in 2017 or 2015 even, people were saying, okay, well, what are we going to use Ethereum for? It's like, well, we can, you know, verify things and write hashes and make it provable, right? So there's a lot of things that actually just write a hash. There's no value in that, but they have to spend, you know, $8 every time.
Yeah,
and they may be doing it, you know, every hour, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So they can do that. So that revenue model, that revenue is killing, or that those expenses are killing those dApps. So they have to do something else. One of the easiest things they'll be able to do is just deploy their contracts right on Telos CVM. So we're going to have these bridges. There's going to be, as I talked about, there's going to be an Ethereum there's an EOS to Telos bridge already. There's going to be a Ethereum to Telos bridge, two-way bridge through P tokens. There's also going to be a Ethereum to Telos EVM bridge, right? That's direct. So you don't have to go, because we don't think anybody who's like a hardcore Ethereum is gonna want to go like, okay, well, I'm going to go from Ethereum to Telos EVM. They're just going to want to go straight. They're going to, for them, it just looks like they're on Ethereum. You know,
Right.
It's no different, except it costs less and it moves faster. So, but we also think that there'll be a lot of people who will want to do DeFi on there as well, because why wouldn't you? Like, if you're doing $10 trades, you know, then that $8, you know, fee is killing you.
It doesn't make sense. Yep.
If you're doing $500,000, who gives a darn?
Right. So Q3, you got some exciting things going on then, planned in the roadmap as well. Telos Private and Telos ID. I've never heard of the Telos Private. I saw that. I was like, wow, this is good. Okay. Yeah, this is
Telos
great.
Private, I mean, that's kind of a mind blower for people. In the same way that with Ethereum, with Telos EVM, there was a good sort of basis there, but we had to build all the block explorers and MetaMask and all these pieces around it to actually get it working, which is why no other chain has employed it, because it takes a lot of coordination and additional development, and that's stuff that Telos is good at. So there has also been a couple of different approaches towards ZK proof privacy in the EOS.io world. But they never got done because of the very similar thing. It takes some coordination, takes some additional development. We actually have to go and make a chain that actually does some of the things. You know, we have to take over a little bit of Block One's role and create these pieces that they have refused to release yet, and people have just been waiting on. So we finally feel grown up enough to do that. We already built, you know, Telos already built a lot of the governance contracts and whatnot that Block One, you know, promised but didn't deliver. But this is just the next continuation of that. I personally think that we have to keep building, because, you know, with Dan leaving Block One, it's just a reminder that, you know, I mean, he said he was going to be there for 10 years or for the rest of his career, and he left. And I'm not assigning blame. I'm just saying, look, things change. People's plans change. And
I wanted to get your opinion on that at the end here.
Okay. We'll talk about
that.
Yeah. but my long-term vision is that Telos, with this, as it grows, becomes, our own strong Telos core developers group comes into a position that, should there ever be a change, I'm not saying there will be, I hope there's not, but and Block One, doesn't continue to develop EOS.io in the direction that we think is good, we want to be able to step in and pick up the baton if it gets dropped. So,
right. I like what you. So tell me about creating this like side chain for this Telos private network. I'm assuming you're doing it because you want to keep it separate, just in case there are some regulatory things.
Yeah, it's
for the
mainnet. That is a part of it, right? So Telos is in a great position. We dotted all our T's and crossed all our I's, and we never had an ICO. We did everything you need to do to be a really solid ground chain for regulation. So seeing that there's a lot of risk around that for secret, zero knowledge proof based chains, we don't want to add that. We don't want to add that layer of risk to Telos. At the same time, privacy is a human right, and it's a business need, right? Like, there's a lot of businesses that, like, if you knew who all the suppliers were, if you could like just basically go through everybody's order books because it was all online, and you knew who everyone's suppliers were, and you knew who everyone was paying, that would be a lot of trade secrets that you wouldn't want to put out there. So until there's some kind of ways to obfuscate that meaningfully, right? Big business is not going to come and put their important accounting systems on any blockchain, right? So we have to think about any public blockchain anyway. So then they're on private blockchains, which have some of the advantages of blockchains, but miss out on a lot of the biggest advantages of blockchains. So we're trying to create a future where we support people who want to have privacy in their transactions. We think it's a need. We know that from some people in some countries, it's an existential need, right? Like journalists, investigators, all kinds of people, they need it just to live, right? Under some regimes. So we think it's important. It's always been something we've wanted to have people be able to use if they needed, especially in smart contracts. There's really no good smart contract that uses anonymous transactions. So basically, Telos Private is this other chain that's essentially a side chain to Telos, but it's a private side chain, and people can bridge over directly from Telos. But like I was saying, the big picture, you can come to Telos, you can bridge into Telos from anything else, certainly Ethereum and Bitcoin and all these. So essentially it creates the first real privacy, solution for smart contract platforms. And as more and more, chain on to Telos through various methods, more and more will get that opportunity. So it's basically an option, right? It's an option for people to use because it's important. We got to support individuals here, but it doesn't make the whole chain that way. So we don't come under, that part doesn't come under the government's eye,
Right, exactly. That's what I thought. That's smart. You're doing it that way. You guys are doing it that way. And then Telos ID. Tell us a little bit about that one as well.
Yeah. So Telos ID obviously is super important. We want to have. There's kind of two schools of ID. There's two sort of buckets right now. There are some that are like civic, where people can use them for allowing others to verify information about them without leaking new information they don't already have. So that's very important. But another important use of ID is to try to have some kind of way of feeling whether somebody is an individual, unique person or not, right? So for things like voting and governance and UBI, all these things with problem, I mean, we already have UBI right now in America.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And I mean, that's not going away.
No.
So we have it, right? So we need a solution. And one of the ways and UBI belongs on blockchain. It's a blockchain is the only place you can really do it, frankly, I think. Right. So the problem is that we got to not, solve the civil attack problem. We got to not have people have 15 accounts and get 15 UBIs, right? So to do that, you need some way to kind of feel like, okay, we believe this person is really a person. By the way, there are people, faking out the current, UBI distribution system, by
big time.
Yeah, big time, right? So it's not like we're going up against a perfect system. We can make a lot of improvements. So what Telos ID is it actually combines those two needs. It allows people, and it actually, makes them help each other, right? So you can use Telos ID. I can use Telos ID to allow various companies to verify me, right? And only the information I want them to. And the more and more that gets used, right? The more information I put in, the more it gets used, the more, independent certifications that I get for whatever my things may be, right? The more that's on there, the higher my potential score for being an actual individual, unique human is, right? So if I put, I can only put my address on one of them. I can have several accounts related to this, but if basically hashing various information about me, right? I can't have that verified by a bunch of places and be reusing it over and over again in a bunch of accounts. So at the same time, as it becomes very useful for me, for people to, verify my address and my social security number and whatever they need to verify, whatever I allow them to know and to check, and basically say, hey, some guy says all of this, is this true? And they go, yep, all that's true, and if they want to say, hey, there's this John T. Smith guy, you want to be able to say, is this really John T. Smith? You want to be able to say that without leaking that whether T stands for Thomas or, Tina, right?
Right.
So the more you use that, the more people validate that, and the more you actually put that into play, the higher and higher the confidence score goes up for being an individual human being, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
So that's a little wonky, but it's a really, and I mean, I think if people are like looking for things to be excited about, Telos Private is much bigger, but I actually think Telos ID is hugely important and on a longer time scale, But that's Q3, yeah. So,
wow, a lot of good stuff, man. And like I said, our last interview, you talked about doing the Tbonds. You've done it. You talk about the Telos EVM. You've done it. So the pattern
Telos,
here.
We talked back in the day. We talked about how we're going to revolutionize governance with Telos ID. Done it.
You've done it. Yep.
This is not. So, this is how this. I mean, it ain't. I tell you one thing for darn sure. It's not just me. It's a lot of people in Telos working hard.
Absolutely.
But one of those other things that that I'm very proud of with how we stack up in the crypto community is, I think we have 100% delivery rate, right?
Yeah.
There's no features that are either hanging out for 5 years undone. I mean, DStore is taking a while, but it's essentially, it's essentially there. It's,
right.
It's more of that's just more of a developer resources thing. But that's I would love that to be out. But essentially, all these things we're doing are either fully delivered or on the cusp right now. And so we like that. And so when we come out with this roadmap, it's not like people putting some pie in the sky BS out there. We've done everything we said we were going to do so far, and this is the stuff we say we're going to do next. And and then when we deliver on all our heavy Q1 stuff, a lot of it we've already delivered. It's still barely January, and we've delivered on some of our things already, like Tbonds, right?
Yep.
So by end of March, we're going to be delivering on everything, and then people can realize that Telos is a place that builds what it says it's going to build.
I agree, man. Totally agree. So, last thing, elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Your guy Dan Lammer leaving. That shocked me big time. But as I read through his, I call it a manifesto. I don't know that, but I read through his Hive post,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems like he's alluding to the fact that EOS or Block One is going to cave to the governments and implement some type of KYC layer to their whole blockchain. That's what I got from it. And he's like, I've had enough. Enough is enough. Like, I know Dan from BitShare years and very libertarian, maybe even anarchist. I don't know, but he's like about freedom and liberty, and I don't blame him if that's the case. Like, he's sticking to his core values. He can't help if the company that he, kind of partnered with or came on board with is not. What's your take on what's going on, how that all panned out? I know a lot of people were upset about the way the communication was done.
Do you ever see that Brie Larson movie Room?
No.
Oh. Well, so she's kidnapped and held in a room, and has a kid and everything. It's great. I think it won an Oscar or something like that. I think, I don't know. I have no special knowledge. Sure. I think one possibility is that Dan had every intention of when he started out, of making EOS where he was gonna spend the rest of his career, because if you can do everything you want to do on EOS, or on whatever platform you're on, why would you leave for another one, right? You don't like. I didn't say, hey, let's make Telos because I thought EOS is going to be perfect. I mean, you try and I did it because I thought there were real problems and we were going to have to address those. And 2 years later, I mean, all those problems came, right? Yep. By the way, it was not Chicken Little. Everything happened that I said was going to happen. And so, and in some ways worse. So I think Dan, and that's what happens with time, right? Nobody has a perfect crystal ball. I think he set out to do well. I think that as disappointed as so many people are in the community about how Block One, sort of reneged on their promise to put, $1 billion, a couple $100 million into investment into the community within the first 2 years. That didn't happen at all. They failed to deliver a lot of things that people think were for regulatory reasons and all that. So
yeah, I think so
people are upset. Yeah. Now imagine you're not just an EOS investor, you're Dan. Imagine you're Dan. Like, if you think that a lot of long-term EOS people are bummed, imagine you're the guy whose name's on it, and this is the thing that you thought was going to be awesome. So in one possible interpretation, he feels like he's been kidnapped, held in the basement, until his 3 year typical vesting of stock is 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
And I think probably he probably, he's been so quiet for so long, right? And
and a lot of people are saying, well, what's going to happen with EOS now? And he CTO, he's not. They've got a big team of developers over there that's been actually maintaining the code for quite some time. It's not.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they say that that's absolutely true, and the developers are awesome, and I super support them. I don't think no one has ever told me that all of those developers work strictly on EOS.io code.
I don't know that.
What percentage are actually working on EOS.io code full time? I don't know, but those guys are great. I work closely with them. I love what they do. They're fantastic. I think they are probably succeeding in spite of some of the corporate drives rather than because of them. But I don't know. I'm not in the room there. I have begun to have a lot of sympathy for Dan, and I felt he had abandoned the community in some way, or a lot of people said that, and it was he certainly measurably was not tweeting at the same rates as he was. He wasn't there. But then I sort of wonder, like, is that something that maybe happened because he was stuck and really unsatisfied and gagged and couldn't say anything about it, I don't know. But not wanting to, but at the same time, not wanting to just throw away all the value he had built by, not vesting, which is which he's certainly his right to stick around to
Absolutely.
the contract, to honor his contract there. But it seemed to me, I mean, honestly, I'm also not, I'm not anything. I'm not, one of the things I'm also not is a psychotherapist but I have seen people who are depressed, and some of the things, some of that withdrawal and and things like that strike me as similar. And I mean, who is it, by the way? I mean, so like, he's going through a pandemic too. He's going through all these things, like, I mean, this last year or so has hit a lot of people in a lot of different ways and made them reassess what's important in their lives and how they're going to do it. And I think Dan is a human being and has probably gone through all those same processes that I've gone through. I'm sure you've gone through. I'm sure everybody's gone through. So that's what I think. I think probably he's gone through that. He realized that what is happening and what he's allowed to do, after all, at Block One, is not what he wants to spend his time on. I think
my whole thing is, though, it's like, man, not enough. Like, I was defending him about how he started a project and leave it. Like, okay, well, first of all, BitShares,
I know,
kind of got, but then, with Steam, he kind of got kicked out. If you forced out, kind of.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even count that one. But then, I was like, God, man, I can't really defend him now.
Well, you know what? Here's how you'll know. Here's how you know. If he actually, because there is something he could do, and I know this sounds incredibly self-serving, but he should come take a look at least at Telos, because we literally built his actual vision. And I said this to him on, when he was tweeting just before. Actually, there's some things just before where I was like, you sound really upset, Dan. Is everything okay? and it was this thing about how he would build these communities and then they would be stolen away or their governments would be ruined and stuff. And I said, I get it, but we built what you asked for. And the parts you guys didn't even build, we built all the voting things, we built a lot more. I don't know why he wouldn't take a look. So, in fact, that might be an interesting litmus test, right? If he really is still all about EOS.io, but, doesn't like the centralization, doesn't like the fact that, as you said, or we're interpreting his thing that EOS is essentially, going to sell out and become a corporate chain. If he doesn't like those, there's this sort of opposite chain available that's built on his stuff that he could check out, and I hope he will. He would be welcomed with as everyone who comes to Telos is, with open arms. It'd be great. Frankly, I mean, even if he doesn't like our stuff, it'd be interesting. He's a very smart guy. He spends time all the time thinking about it. I'd love to hear his take on it. I think he'd be excited about it, but very likely he might say, well, have you thought about doing this? He has a lot of great ideas, and Telos is pretty good about implementing ideas. That's a different kind of talent than I have. It's like for me, I'm probably not going to come up with the out of the blue idea that no one's ever had before. I'm more of like, I'm like a decent optimizer, right? I'm like, well, this is good, but that part and that part don't work so well. What if we tried this? Or else I put the ideas together. I like the Tbonds, as an example. I'll go, well, what would be great is if we had this and this and this, and like, oh, no one's really ever done this quite this way before, but we could put it together like this. I kind of assemble things that people in my mind that people have almost done or kind of done or are unfinished or whatever, and I go, well, what if we put these things together? That's fine. That's valuable. In fact, that may be more valuable, right? But Dan is, great at imagining things that haven't ever existed and getting people excited about bringing those together. So yeah. I would love to see what he would want to do, with Telos. Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. Well, Douglas Horn, as always, it's a pleasure. This hour has gone by quick, man. Guys, if you guys want to hear more or find out more about Telos, visit telos.net. That's TELOS.net for more information. Check out that roadmap, man. These guys, as we just stated, I mean, I've witnessed it. Doug will come on here. It's not Doug himself, all doing everything himself. It's the community, but he would come on and say, we're doing this, XYZ, and literally 6 months later, I would see it completed. So one of the only blockchains I've seen do that. Seriously. So good Thanks, having you on, Doug.
I appreciate that. That's the highest praise I could ever get. Like I will take that. Thank you. Yes, we do what we say we're going to do.
Absolutely. So guys, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And definitely click that bell to receive more interviews like this. I'm out of here. Holla!